What would you say is the sort of overall trait or quality that some of the most successful people you've come across have?
I would say this combination of two of the things that we talked about. One is a driven, undeniable personality that they can't contain. And maybe at the beginning of their careers, they were able to modulate themselves somewhat, but not that well. And then it begins to come to the fore, and they realize they can do things better than other people, maybe, and they feel that they can. And so whatever part of their personality, the dynamic part, it just can't be denied. Whereas other people may doubt themselves. Really successful people that I've noticed, maybe they have self-doubt in the middle of the night, but for the most part, they don't have the same sort of feelings of self-doubt that other people have. They just kind of move forward through the water. Like
but it's important then to be confident. And as you talk about having sort of this two or split personality, if you're someone who does want to succeed, how important is projecting all this confidence?
Yes, it's confidence even when you should have none. You know, I mean, look at Napoleon. You know, he's on Elba. He's like sitting on an island. You know, there's no Wi-Fi. There's no way back to the mainland. And he's thinking, okay, how do I get back? I mean, you learn a lot from studying Roman emperors and other lunatics. And that's a power, the power of like embracing personal madness. The other thing is this strategic thinking. I mean, your Carl Icahn story, where here's a guy, he had certain goals, he reached what he thought was achievable without turning himself into a pretzel or, you know, becoming, you know, I don't know what the alternative would have been, but he seemed satisfied with what he had. He declared victory and he moved on to the next campaign, you know, and that's a strategy. I once saw someone who was otherwise completely relaxed, having a good time. He got a phone call, and if a human being's head could fly off their shoulder and go rocketing around the room like a balloon when it's punctured, that's what would have happened. There was screaming, there was yelling, I'm gonna crush and mutilate, and then slam the phone down, and turned to me and he said, "How was that?" I said, "That was impressive." He went, "Good, huh? So let's have a drink." And I thought, wow. No, it's interesting. You know, I mean, strategic anger. And believe me, he got what he wanted because he was scary as the dickens. But,
so strategic anger in that, you know, people are then so fearful of how you might react that they do what you want.
Yes, I have a chart about that. What it is that no, it's not in there. I have a chart. What it says is that you don't. Once you display this kind of behavior, after you do it, you don't need to do it anymore. I mean, maybe you need a refresher.
Because there's the threat of it.
There's the threat of it, and people know that that's not something they want to. They don't want to go through that again. So, you know, I mean, a lot of the people that you interview are famous for their rage. Famous by their employees for their
But you know, it gets to this issue of success. I mean, how, you know, you spin the clock back, you know, say 20 years or 15 years as they were coming up the ranks, and how do you think they've had to change and adapt? I mean, you have to be part of a culture to a certain extent.
Yes.
And you can't come into a company early on and, you know, have these screaming fits and survive.
That's right. You do have to modulate your character at the beginning of your long career, and you get the right almost to, as you earn merit badges, you can do greater feats. So I mean, as you move forward, yes, the right to become who you are comes along with experience and with power.
I think you often see this too with great entrepreneurs. They're big personalities that are used to getting their way and expect to get their way, and you know, they start a company with an idea and have to be almost a force of nature in order to succeed.
They do, and if you look at somebody like Steve Jobs, I don't think he ever really modulated his personality. I think he was always Steve Jobs, and that was just him, and everybody knew that was Steve. And I don't know that he ever was like a cubicle guy, if you know what I mean, and kind of like got by.
You know, he was the guy in charge from the beginning.
From the beginning. Now, what's interesting is a lot of entrepreneurs, the organization grows up and they don't. So you get somebody like a George Westinghouse, who had to be drummed out of Westinghouse by the board of directors because all he kept doing was inventing things. And they finally said, stop inventing things. We have enough inventions. We have enough patents. Leave us alone. We want to make money with the things that we're doing. And he said, I have this switch that's going to, and they said, you know what, go home. And he did. He went home. And that happens sometimes to entrepreneurs, is that they can't manage other people very well. And that the organization wants to become bureaucratic and should become, and they have a hard time with that. That's what some.
Is there anything good about bureaucracy?
Yes, I love bureaucracy. Bureaucracy protects working people from maniacs. You have to have HR departments, which have their own negatives, I grant you, but I think bureaucracy is a fine form of government. If you look at the Roman Empire, for instance, when the Caesars came in and abolished all the bureaucracy, and you got Nero. So, I mean, I think my history is a little garbled, but you'll forgive me. But I think, in all seriousness, I think organizational structures that hold people to certain norms are good things, not bad things. And I think organizations that too much revolve around the ego of one person have a problem.